Welcome to the Fence and Deck Mastery Podcast, where we discuss cutting-edge techniques, industry trends, and business insights to take your fence or deck company to the next level and dominate your competition. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fence and Deck Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Danner, and also the founder of Fence and Deck Marketers, which is a digital marketing agency that works exclusively with fencing and decking businesses. And today I have a great show for you that I'm really excited about. I have Nicole Rivera from Jill's office.
Hello.
She is the director of sales and marketing at Jill's office. And if you've never heard of Jill's office before, it's an answering service that I've actually recommended to most of my clients, if not all of them. And I've recommended it to just people that I talk to as well, because they do a really good job, actually taking over that whole process and answering the calls on time. And we're going to get into all the benefits here in a second, but I'm definitely a huge fan and a big advocate for it. And when Nicole reached out, we started talking about, kind of collaborating and, coming on the podcast. That's what I recommended, because customer service is, can be a really tricky spot. There's a lot of hats business owners have to wear. And, in the early stages, you're picking up all the calls. Eventually you got to get away from that and have somebody answering it for you. And I figure, Nicole can kind of tell some best practices, for customer service, and then also explain how answering services work if you're ever debating that as well. So Nicole, appreciate you coming on the podcast. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Super excited to be here too, Alex. So thanks for having us.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm excited for this as well. And yeah, I know all about Jill's office, or a good part about it, and I've listened to clients, and I kind of do my best to explain all the benefits, but I was excited to hear an actual expert talk about, how it all works a little bit better. And sometimes clients ask me about the details of like how the leads work and when they come in, how they get managed. And I don't really know that part. So I'm excited to, really dive into that and go from there. So, Nicole, could you just kind of, introduce yourself a little bit and your story, kind of how you ended up in Jill's office, and maybe some of your overall experience with it?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. So Jill's office has been around for about 9 years, maybe almost 10. And I came to Jill's office around year one, when I was actually closing down one of my own businesses. And I found Jill's office, and the reason that I fell in love with it was because when they explained what the whole vision was, which was helping small business owners just to have less stress and to get more done, I was sold in my interview, because I was currently closing a business because I was wearing too many hats and I was overwhelmed and burnt out. And so I bought into the whole vision from day one before I even started. And I kind of evolved at that time, just going through a lot of things. I was at Jill at first. We were super small, six employees, I believe. And so I was one of the Jills, answering phones, scheduling appointments. And it was a really exciting time. And then eventually, as we grew, I started to move into more of what my background is in just entrepreneurship and business administration, and then eventually into human resources. But I did get into business development first, and I started doing sales that's kind of where I got really immersed in home service industries, met a lot of business owners, and got a lot of just really valuable information about what they were doing to be successful, and what some other businesses were doing that were not so successful. And so I learned a lot, started going to a lot of conferences, workshops, and conventions, but eventually took over human resources. It's called people and culture, because I was really passionate about making sure as we grew, we kept a really strong culture. And because I really do believe when you take care of your employees, they really do take care of your clients. And so that's kind of where I have been for the past 4 or 5 years. And then recently have moved into director of sales and marketing, where I'm just constantly learning so much every single day. But I feel confident because my passion for Jill's office has never changed. I always feel like business owners need to delegate more in order to get more things done. And they need to have good processes and really good customer service. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, so you said you were one of the Jills. Is that what, like, the people that actually answer the phones are all called Jills?
Oh yeah, we call ourselves Jills. We don't answer as Jill because that can be confusing when somebody calls back again. But we do call ourselves Jills, and it's just a fun thing we've done since the beginning.
Gotcha. And so the original founder was named Jill, or
No, no, it's a really funny
okay.
story. People, every time we go to conventions, if I'm there or one of our coworkers who's female, they assume that we're Jill and we're the owner. But the owners, yeah, the owners are actually a couple, Brent and Autumn, and they started the company. Brent actually started it because his brother was a contractor. I believe he's in construction, and he just wasn't answering his phones. And he had the idea that people will still call back later and he can follow up with it later. And, Brant just thought that that wasn't a very good way to do business. And so he came up with this idea and they were brainstorming what to call it. And I think it was that Jill was just a very common name for uh, receptionist positions. And it kind of stuck and it just rolled off the tongue. And it's always been Jill's.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, then, I mean, I know you work with a lot of different companies, different types of contractors, things like that. I mean, who would you say you work with the most? I mean, or your most common type of business that you help out?
Yeah, so we're definitely heavily into home services and also in the trades. We do a lot of window cleaning and pressure washing. We love property management, want to get more into self-storage and also, HVAC plumbing. We have deck clients and we have fence clients as well. I think I remember my very first deck client was way back in 2016, and it still sticks out in my head so much because he did such a good job of creating really good call instructions for the Jills, where sometimes clients struggle there, where they want us to just do more than what we should be doing as far as a call center's perspective. He had really good guidelines and he knew exactly what his ideal client was. So we could actually help qualify clients on the phone so that he wasn't wasting a lot of time for people that wanted jobs that weren't the right fit for his company.
Yeah, that's something I really wanted to learn more about, and kind of how that whole process works with vetting, leads that come in, because I think every business has to have some kind of qualifying process to make sure it's the ideal fit. So
Right.
how does that work, with, do you have to get all the qualifications from the client? Do you get, like, they fill out a form? How do they give you that data so you have what you need?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways. First off, when a client signs up at Jill's office, we go through a really good onboarding process. There are call instructions to fill out. And when you work with your salesperson first and then you work with your account manager, there is a little bit of going back and forth to figure out what the right fit is for your company, to make sure that we're working within certain guidelines. Because if you can imagine a call center taking thousands of calls a day, we have to have some kind of guidelines so that we're able to do a really good job. And so our account managers are really good at making sure everything's put in, in a really good way, so that we can be the most effective on calls. But what we have done to help with qualifying, some of our clients will have forms for us to fill out. Some of our clients have very strict guidelines, like we do not accept anybody that, isn't willing to spend above this amount on their project. And then we have some with a little softer guidelines, qualifying questions, I guess, where if a lead calls in or we call a lead, we do let them know that, just so you're aware, the average project for these decks that we build usually are in the range of this and this. And that qualifying question doesn't necessarily tell them that we won't service them, but it gives them a good idea. That really helped one of our clients just to help weed out people that only wanted, like, a $500 quick repair when he's building these huge decks every
Right.
single.
Right. Okay. And you just mentioned that, you're answering thousands of calls a day. Do you have some Jills are assigned to, like, I mean, certain number of clients for that day? And then I'm just wondering how, like, you keep track of that, I guess,
Oh
like.
yeah. Yeah, it's a huge operations structure for sure. And we have our operations team that's constantly monitoring pods. So we do have pods, and the pods determine how many clients are in those pods, because you can imagine different clients have different call volumes. Some of our clients only have us answering after hours, like nights and weekends, because maybe they already have office staff. So we're really good backup. Some of our other clients want us to handle phone calls 100% of the time, so they have a much higher call volume. And then we have other clients who have office staff but want them to focus on very specific tasks. So we might handle just leads or whatever it is that they need. And so the pods are separated depending on, right now we're focusing more on industries. And as it grows, those will kind of move around, just depends on what our needs are and our current client base, but they are separated into pods to handle call volume. And then for nights and weekends, it is handled more of and kind of open to whoever's on nights and weekends. They're trained in all different scheduling systems. And it's because the call volume is a lot lower nights and weekends. Not on weekends, nights, it would be a lot slower. Saturdays get pretty busy nowadays. But it is super helpful for our clients. They love that we're 24/7 because it gives them an edge, especially if you're running ads, 24/7, someone's going to answer all the time.
Okay. But like, do they have someone like in the pod, I guess? Do you have one person that deals with like a whole bunch of decking clients or like similar industries, or is it just completely random?
It's not random. We don't have pods that are dedicated just to one industry at the moment unless that industry got so large it needed its own pod, but it's more of like similar industries together in a pod. And then you'll have a large number of Jills in that pod that can handle a ton of calls. And then the staffing levels just depend on time of day because the call volume does fluctuate throughout the day. And usually, of course, it's in the morning and it kind of tapers off later in the day. But since we serve all of the US and also in Canada, we get really busy super early here in Utah because it's already, everything's going on the East Coast already. So
yeah. And do they like, how do they remember? Are they forced to just memorize like all the business details, like whoever calls, or does like a thing pop up and they're like, that way, like what the qualifications are?
yeah, the funny thing is when Jill's office first started and I started, everything was off of memorization. We were so small, when a business first starts, you're able to do all these crazy things to
Yeah.
make anybody happy. But as we grew, we realized we needed processes. So there is no way to work off of memorization for a company, but it happens for our clients who have a very high call volume. The Jills in their pod, you just start to remember everything about a company because you're constantly answering questions and getting feedback from the owner. And so you just start to know everything about the company. But with the other clients who maybe get a couple calls trickling in here and there, there's just no way to memorize it. So we've worked for the last 9-10 years on creating a really good call screen with feedback from our client or from our employees and from management on what works best, because the call screen has to help the Jills to navigate through a call really quickly and really effectively. So we have call instructions, we have FAQ section, and we're constantly, our developers are always looking at that call screen to see how we can improve it. But we have really good training too. Our training department is so amazing because they have to consistently train every single Jill the same way. That way, and it's one of the biggest questions our applicants actually have when we do interviews. They want to know how they're going to know all of this information for every single company. And the answer is you can't know every single thing. So we have to line things up really straight, like really organized in the call screen. And that's where also the account managers and our script specialists come into play to make sure that we're laying things out in call instructions that are very easy to read.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I could see that getting tricky. That was the first thing I thought, like, how would you remember, like a call comes in at the most random time and you're like, okay, this is ABC decking. Like, what do they do again? And you're like, while you're on the call with them. I was like,
yeah, the call instructions will actually tell us like what we are allowed to do on a call, because some clients don't want scheduling. Some just want messages taken. Some want scheduling and some want us to not schedule, just give out pricing. And so those things are pretty much the first things laid out when you take a call. And like I said, our clients, our ideal clients, we're handling really high call volume for, and those are the companies you just become very, very comfortable with. You start to memorize little things.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then when somebody comes to you, they're, interested. I mean, one of the most common, well, I'm curious what they say are the most common struggles, but also maybe what, some other struggles that you see that they're maybe not willing to admit or whatever. But I guess the most common issues you see, before someone starts working with you.
Sure. I mean, as far as I can remember back, the number one problem has always been that business owners are missing calls, or it's just phone management in general. Either they are missing the calls, they don't want to answer the calls. I know from experience that answering phones as an owner gives you a lot of anxiety
Yeah.
because you don't know what the call's about, or maybe it's someone, that's upset with you or keeps bugging you, or maybe you're just dreading making outbound calls because you need to collect some money. And
Yeah.
so if you have employees, you've got calls from, the state that they want to do some, unemployment, things like that. There's so many calls. And so sometimes it's that they can't manage the call volume, and sometimes it's that they don't want to.
Yeah.
So with anything in business, I always think if there's something that you're not good at or that you hate to do, you need to delegate it to somebody else that loves it and does a good job. And so we've just focused on being really good at customer service and taking care of callers as much as we can, so that we actually add to the customer experience for all of our clients, whether it's someone who's angry on the phone, someone who wants to, make a complaint, someone who wants pricing, and someone that wants to schedule.
Yeah. That really resonates with me, like the whole anxiety of calling. And that was something I hired as like a appointment setter, because we get leads through Facebook and other sources. And, when you're dealing with the heat of the day or whatever, you're already kind of stressed out. And, like just that one more thing sounds like just, climbing Mount Everest to get past. It just sounds like so awful, especially, I
Yeah,
guess, a
well,
certain type of person too, if you're more, introverted maybe. But
right.
um,
It's actually a pretty vicious cycle, because what we've seen over the years is, our clients spend a lot on marketing to get these leads in. They don't answer their calls
yep. Oh my
because they're
gosh.
on
Yeah.
jobs maybe, or they're doing other things. And so what they need to do is follow up with the calls later in the day, just to find out that the lead says, oh, I found somebody else. Like, that's heartbreaking. It's just a vicious
Yeah.
cycle of wasting money and burning energy. So
Yeah. And what I always say is the spam might be the worst part too. Like I
yeah.
get a million spam calls. I'm sure the Jills absolutely love all those spam calls. But
We actually do get quite a few clients that sign up because of the volume of their spam calls and sales calls, and it's driving them crazy, and they
yeah.
just don't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. You see that call and it's like, it could be spam. It might not be too, but you don't want to have to like talk your way out of saying you don't want to buy
Right.
whatever, whatever they're selling. Yeah, that alone, that peace of mind would be absolutely huge for, I think, anybody that's answering the calls.
Oh yeah.
Um, but okay. So, I mean, obviously it can help with like, picking up calls. I guess the customer service side, like the overall experience, the improvement there. Can you kind of talk to that, to like, how having someone that's super friendly, and by the way, I know what the Jills sound like because we record our calls for clients. So I'm listening to them and I can hear, hear you guys
Mhm.
talk, and it's always someone that I've seen. It's usually someone very bubbly, very outgoing. And
Right.
so would love to hear kind of how you see it as like improving the overall, maybe the image of the company or the overall experience that a lead might have.
Oh yeah. So what I like to always say is that for our clients, they are so amazing at doing what they're good at, either if it's building decks and fences, or maybe, whatever it is that they're really good at. It isn't necessarily that they're great at answering phones and customer service. And so that is something we really try to focus on when we go through training. Customer service isn't necessarily something you're born with. It can definitely be trained. And as you grow, even in a small company, I believe you need to have some kind of process for your customer service. Everybody should answer the same way. Everybody should have the same mindset as to what are we trying to do for all of the callers that call in. What is the feeling and the impression we're trying to give to every single caller? And it definitely is giving them a good experience and letting them know that we're eager to help and happy to help. And so those are things that we train in to make sure that we're giving that impression when we answer the phone, that we genuinely want the best outcome after this phone call. And a lot of times we can't even finish or complete what the customer is asking for, because sometimes they will call in to schedule and maybe our client doesn't allow us to schedule. We still want to give an amazing experience on that phone call so that they feel like whatever is going to happen next is going to take care of that. And so a long time ago, one of the things this is a really long time ago, we started to add in the aspect of making sure to smile on every call. And we did this whole project across the whole company, which at that time, there was maybe 10 of us, 10 or 12. We all had mirrors, and we were practicing smiling when we answer and when we talk so people can hear it. And we were also practicing, learning not to use negative phrases. So it was, if somebody asked a question we didn't have the answer to, we never said, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was, so we came up with a lot of different ways that now we use in our formal training of how to address anybody who, if it's a negative thing or the answer is no, things to say like, that's a great question. Let me find the answer for you. Or do you mind if I get back to you with the right answer? I'll find out who can help you next.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that a lot. Yeah. And I've seen that as a lot of issues with contractors that are, I don't know, even if you can't do something, I guess, or it's not within your services, if you're kind of like, nope, we don't do that, or just sounding kind of grumpy behind it, it's like, like,
Right. And the conversation just ends there and it's really
yeah,
awkward.
yeah. And it just, I mean, that little interaction just put a bad taste in their mouth too. So, like, I don't know if it comes up when you're hanging out with friends or family, like, who knows, like it could end up affecting you down the road too. But okay, so I know that a lot of contractors miss calls, I see it all the time. Any like, I guess, doesn't have to be exact stats or like any information you can give on how often you see that happening, like how often people are really missing calls when they come to you or just in general. Would
Sure.
love to see some numbers or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we did a little bit of research a little while ago, and we found that the average business owner misses about 2.5 calls a day. And so that's about 15 calls a week, or in over the course of a whole year, it's about 234 new leads. And depending on how much you're paying for your leads, I mean, that's painful.
Yep.
There shouldn't ever be an excuse to miss a lead. There's so many tools now, so many services, and so much technology to help you to never miss a lead. So you have so many things at your disposal to use to make sure that your business is capturing every single one.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And then I'm just curious, like the typical results, maybe you'd have some like stories or case studies, when people come to you or contractors come to you or whoever, and they start working with you, like kind of before and then after, once that's kind of taken off their plate. Have you have any like typical results you hear or, anything specific as well? Anything to that?
We have actually a lot of testimonials going up on our website. We do have this one amazing client. His name is Greg. His company is called Dapper Dan. I believe he's window cleaning, pressure washing. And I'm trying to see if I can find it. I might not be able to find it right now. It was on our website because it had the actual number of jobs that we had booked for him in his first week, on top of the things that he was still trying to do on his own. And I want to say it was about 1,500 in just new bookings the first week that he had signed up with us, or the first couple of days of just trying out Jill's office. And so that was a really good testimonial. It's on our website and our YouTube channel, which is great. The hard part sometimes is getting our clients to let go of some things. Sometimes they don't want us
Yeah.
to give out pricing or schedule. So then we can't fully capture all of the data of how much we've been effective. But then we have other clients who are really good at numbers. They love numbers, and they like to let us know exactly how much their jobs, how many jobs we've booked and things like that. But we are moving more into tracking how much we have saved clients, how much we've booked in jobs, because in the past, what we were really focused on was just making sure we were just providing good customer service, regardless of what our clients were asking for. And we do have some limitations when it comes to scheduling. And so there's so much capabilities within a scheduling system that we have to make sure to have really strict guidelines so our clients don't ask too many things where we're making so many errors.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. And yeah, I guess the whole process of managing the leads, I'd like to dive in a little bit more to kind of get a better understanding. So, especially because it sounds like it can be customizable depending on the company. But, when a call comes in, one of the Jill's answers, are they typically getting all the information about the lead and then passing it on to like texting it to the client or emailing it? Like, how does that typically work?
Yeah, those are good questions. So on inbound calls, our clients forward their calls to us, and so they receive a Twilio number within our system. They forward their calls to us, or they can just use the Twilio number how they like. And so when a lead does call in, of course, the Jill answers as the actual company and immediately is looking at call instructions and what we can do for that client, what our client permits. If we're capturing lead information, we are getting their name, phone number, email, And then our clients have the option to put in some custom questions as well. And so, for example, I own a residential cleaning company. And if somebody calls in to Jill's office after hours, I have a link to my lead form that goes into my scheduling software, and the Jills will fill out that form. If you don't have a form, the Jills will capture the information that you've put into your call instructions. So if you need square footage, how many stories your home is, any details about the project, you can kind of specify what you'd like the Jills to capture. And those are some of the options on inbound calls. We have options to help capture leads as far as we have this feature called Leads app, where you would need to use your Zapier account to connect to our system. And you can have, right now, we know that Facebook and is it Google Forms, Google Ads, we can have
Google
leads
Ads.
come into, we can have it initiate a call into our system so that our Jills are calling those leads within minutes, and depending on the call volume and how many calls are coming in at the same time. But then they can automate the process. Business owners can automate that process so that they're not worried about following up with leads all the time as they come in.
Okay. Yeah, I think when we spoke previously, is that a new feature, where you call the leads that come in through like a contact form?
It is, yes.
Okay. Is it when we spoke, it was did it like just get rolled out like within the past couple months or?
Yes, it is brand new this year. And so as Zapier has, or as some of these other companies have more connections within Zapier, we're able to do more. And so as we've been testing it with our clients, we do know that our clients running Facebook ads, it's worked really well for. Our clients running Google ads, it's worked really well for. Our clients that have a person dedicated to marketing for their business, those are the ones that are the most successful because they understand Zapier. Or some of our clients, they might not have time to actually go into Zapier, and learn everything in there. But that's been a really helpful. I mean, we have people signing up for it every single day, and it's been a really helpful way for our clients to just capture all of those leads they're paying for. We
Yeah.
do have some other options as well. Our outbound team we've used outbound since Jill's office has been open. And so a lot of our clients also have like Angie's, for example, we'll receive emails from our clients if we're doing outbound for them. So if they get leads through Angie's, we can call on those leads for them as well.
Okay. Yeah. So how quickly do you typically answer when like a contact form lead comes in?
Yeah, that's a good question too. I mean, typically we like to do it within a couple minutes, but it really does depend on the call volume.
Yeah.
With us starting to do a lot of development with AI will help us manage a queue so much better because we do have some clients that are very seasonal, which tends to make call volume spike in the spring. And that can make call times a little bit longer. So the queue time is something we're always watching and always trying to improve on. But typically what we see is they're called within a couple of minutes, but during crazy busy times, I mean, it could take up to an hour. So that's something we're constantly watching and monitoring with our clients and finding ways like with utilizing AI to help manage the queue to make those call times a lot smaller.
Yeah, would be a complete game changer, I think, because there's just so many contact form leads that come in, even if it's through the website. All the Facebook ad ones are going to be contact forms, and then a good bit of the Google ads can be too. So, and it just really is like the first couple minutes you need someone to respond, or else it just plummets. Especially with Facebook ads, the conversion percentage.
Right.
So I am curious though, like, what if you had someone that like you said, say it took 45 minutes to get to a call and the owner was there sitting there anyways and they called. Is there a way to like notify you that the call was made so you don't have to, or is there a way to do that?
In those instances, our clients tend to reach out to their account manager or something like that. But for the most part, our clients that are signing up for this service, it's because they're not even able to call back within an
Yeah,
hour.
yeah.
And so an hour is an extreme number. It's not common at all, but I like to give people real expectations. If you're going to deal with our live Jills, then you can potentially hit those bumps where we have call spikes. AI obviously doesn't have those obstacles because AI can answer automatically. The other cool thing that we're currently working on and is in beta is our text back features. And so we can have immediate text go out to the leads and start communicating through text, which in my experience for my cleaning company, text is so much easier to reach leads that way anyway. They're
Yeah.
more
Oh, yeah.
responsive.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah, and I haven't even really looked into the AI options that you're doing. I think you said it's in beta. Can you talk about that a little bit, kind of how that works?
Yeah, it's really exciting. I think just keeping up with good technology for our clients to help their businesses be more well-rounded. Obviously, we're in beta right now, and there are going to be limitations until we progress and our developers can just keep adding more features to it. But right now, it's a really great option for managing the queue, and it's really good for clients who maybe do get tons of sales calls, because it is a fraction of the price compared to the cost of a live Jill here in the US, here in Utah, actually. It's a lot cheaper to use AI to answer calls if you're getting a ton of sales calls, or if you are looking for a service that can answer all your calls, but you really don't want it to do much. You just want to have a front end to capture a customer. AI is great at doing that. So currently we're working towards having it have the ability to schedule and do more things in depth.
Right.
Right now we're using it to pair with a live Jill so that AI can help with cost savings and help with managing high call volume. And then if somebody really wants a human, we have the human also attached with AI.
Okay. Nice. And to that point, is it US employees, US Jills, or how's that work?
Yeah, we're actually headquartered in Utah, so all of our employees are here in Utah. They do get the option to work remote once they reach a certain, once they get through training, they have the opportunity to work from home, and obviously they have to maintain certain quality scores, and yeah, I believe it's quality. So yes, everybody is hired actually through our headquarters here in Utah. They come in for an actual interview in the call center.
Oh, okay, cool. And then what about if you get, maybe Spanish speaking leads or any like protocol for that? I mean, how's that typically?
Yes. Yes, we have quite a few employees who are Spanish, who do speak Spanish. And I believe we also have some at night, even though we don't really get a high call volume of people that need Spanish speakers at night. And so if somebody calls in and needs a Spanish speaker and the person that answers does not speak Spanish, they put it into what we call our callbacks for just our Spanish speakers, and they get a call back within a couple minutes.
Ah, okay, cool. All right. All right. And then is there anything custom that's, I don't know, like anything to speak towards like the customization, I guess, for individual contractors? I don't know, like the flexibilities or anything that certain contractors seem to need that you kind of have to accommodate for, or is it usually pretty standard?
It's pretty standard for our ideal clients. They really are focused on just making sure that all of their customers are taken care of at some point. Somebody's answering the phone. I think that one of the struggles for consumers is that when we need something done, we call and nobody answers, or we leave a voicemail and no one calls back, or they take a while, or the customer service isn't good. And so those are at the front end of Jill's office. That's what we want to help our clients to achieve, is somebody answering the phone and providing an amazing experience and great customer service from the get-go to help with your company to seem just very professional and very friendly so that they want to continue working with you, rather than moving on to the competition if they've never worked with you before, especially, and they're just going through Google looking for a company.
Yeah. 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 Okay.
Yeah. So as far as customization, we have a lot of options. What usually happens is we go through our call instructions, and it takes a good conversation with sales or with your account manager to understand if this is something that we can do or something that is just really outside of the guidelines that the Jills will just make mistakes on and cause frustration on phone calls.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. And then I think you touched on this already, but the hours, like how do those typically work? Is it always 24/7 or
It is
um
24/7. Yes. We're closed on, I believe it's Thanksgiving and Christmas Day. And other than that, it's 24/7. If you have a scheduling system that we are currently scheduling in and you want us to schedule for you, sometimes there can be limitations as far as like nights and weekends, as long as you're in the systems that we schedule in. But forwarding 24/7, there's always going to be someone available to answer the phones. And I do think that AI will also complement that really well. If there ever are call spikes, I know we've experienced call spikes sometimes when we have really bad, weather happen. If we have all of our all of our roofers in one area that are just getting a ton of calls. That happened to us. I think, I remember Texas getting hit really bad with a really bad storm, a couple of years ago. I want to say it was like 3 years ago. And all of our roofing clients, they were just getting slammed with so many phone calls. They couldn't even help the people that were calling in at that point because it was too many people, but we were able to answer every single call and at least listen to people that were just going through a really bad time. And so that was very gratifying.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay. Well, what I guess is there the pricing option is though if they want to be outside of 24/7 or just the evenings, that is like a different pricing, I'm guessing, or how does that work?
It's not. It's actually we have packages that are just based off of minute usage.
Oh, okay.
And so currently, if you go on our website, we have some of our packages there. We have other options too if you're a much larger company outside of our packages, or maybe you're a large company that just needs backup, so you need something much smaller. Sales kind of knows how to talk through that with you. And so the packages on our website right now are our most common packages that our clients use, and they're based off of minute usage. So for example, the smallest one that's on our website is a 300-minute package. And that is $810 a month, and it's $1.95 per minute after you use the 300 minutes. The larger the packages, the lower the price per minute goes. And our biggest package on the website is 1,000 minutes. But we do have clients that are looking for a lot more than that because they have a very high call volume, and they really don't want to increase their expenses on payroll, on hiring, on payroll taxes, and all of that stuff. They just really want to outsource the customer service, and then they don't have to train anybody either in customer service. It's just very seamless.
Yeah. Okay. Well, one thing that when I was sitting here kind of thinking about Jill's office and how it works, do you have any like protocol for somebody that's super, pissed off and not very
We do. And I'm not in the training department anymore, and I haven't been at Jill for a really long time, but we have training for de-escalating calls. And I do know that ever since I was at Jill, we always practice validating the customer's concerns and listening to them, and then letting them know what it is that we can do to help them, and just maintaining professionalism at all times on calls. We do get so many calls every single day. So of course we do get a small percentage of not so nice calls.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Then our clients don't have to deal with them at all. So
yeah, I'm sure those come in blaming you guys for everything. And I was just wondering, I figured that would be pretty hectic, pretty quick. But do you ever like pass them on to the owner, or do you sometimes say like, I'm just the receptionist and like this has got to be dealt with the owner? Do you kind of pass it on to them if they start asking all these questions?
We always let them know that we're going to capture all of their information to pass it on to the owner or somebody that can help. I do think that AI is going to be really helpful for those types of calls as well, because obviously AI doesn't have emotions, and so it can speak empathetically, but it's not gonna freak out on a call. But our Jills are really good at just staying calm and validating the caller. And then it's up to our client to call that customer back. And like we talk about anxiety for business owners, honestly, sometimes our clients don't want to call them back, which can initiate another phone call from that upset customer back to Jill's office. And we just handle it the same way every single time until our client maybe wants us to block that number, which we have the ability to do, block it from coming to Jill's, so that it can go straight to the owner or straight to their voicemail. And then our clients have the ability to put forwarding in their instructions. And so if a business owner wanted to handle all of their upset customers, in the instructions, it can say forward any angry customers directly to Alex, and then the Jill can forward. And what would happen is they would call you and say, hey, Alex, it's Nicole at Jill's office. I have an angry customer on the phone. Can I transfer it to you? Not forward, I meant transfer. And then I can connect it directly to you, and you can deal with it yourself.
No, I'm good. You can just hang up. Oh, no. Okay. Well, I guess I wanted to just add something like in terms of, if fence or deck builders are listening, with kind of how valuable Jill's office or an answering service in general can be. One like crucial piece that Google added, I don't know, at this point, it might be a year or so ago. I can't keep track of time very well, but they added something where they want to show the contractors that are open, or only show contractors that are actually open according to their Google hours. So a big push that I make with the answering services, like Nicole said, they're open 24/7. So you basically allow yourself to be open very late because they're going to answer the phone, of course. So
Mhm.
if you're saying, and this is very common too, you say you're open till 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock. There's a lot of people that get off work and are looking for, help. And there's a very high call volume outside of those hours as well. So if you're, your Google listing says you're closed at 5, you have a competitor that, might even just be a brand new company. It doesn't really matter. But if they say they're open at 9, they can have a possibility to rank ahead of you. And there's a good chance they will. So you kind of lose out on all those calls after hours. So whenever I talk about answering services, I always say, like, just extra leads in general from weekends and nights, it's likely going to very quickly pay for itself. Having somebody that just answers those calls and, just makes it a lot easier to, capture extra leads. So, the extra money, I know, like Jill's office, you guys are, I would say, one of the more premier solutions. There's lots of cheaper options out there. And, I've just seen a lot of issues in general with,
Right.
and honestly, the AI side, not talking about yours specifically because I don't know it, but I have seen clients use AI before, and right now seems a little iffy. Doesn't seem like
Mhm.
it's kind of set up properly, but I'm sure you guys will figure it out and it'll be better. But having that extra, paying that extra money might kind of suck to pay for it. But if you think about hiring someone, to actually answer these calls and a U.S. salary, it's going to be a lot more than 800, or you know it's going to be more than 2,000 a month, more than likely. So I just want
Right.
add that in there. And then the spam calls alone, I know that drives me insane. I get I don't even know how many every day. So someone that can deal with that, or the poor Jills that have to deal with all the spam calls. But
Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely. If you're looking for a service, our clients really do want to have their calls answered by somebody who is in the US. And what we've learned too is it just really helps having someone in the US that understands just the culture and the terminology of, just the service industry in general. And so I do like to also just looking at ourselves as a premier service where we're so focused on just customer experience. um, it can be hard to find a call center that is really focused on customer experience and customer service, because we are not trying to just drive up minute usage and trying to, do all these extra things. We really do want to make sure our clients are, um, we're helping to really focus on their business and allowing them to focus on their business so that they can grow and make sure their customers are just taken care of. Like, not having to worry about the phones is such a huge chunk off of your shoulders. It's a huge weight. Like, someone's got to answer all these phone calls. So just to be able to pass all of that off and not worry about that, it just frees up so much of your brain,
yep.
just to do more things and to scale your business.
Yeah. I mean, and you'll scale a lot faster, more than likely too. I mean, if you're getting a lot of leads that are missed, there's going to be a lot of more opportunities. And like I
Right.
said, person that I hired to deal with all my calls, I mean, it's a huge, huge relief, especially because I'm not really a sales guy, I would say.
Mhm.
So if you don't like doing the sales part, or, you'd rather just focus on building fences or decks, it's going to be a very big relief to not have to worry about that,
Yes.
while still making, more money. So, but okay. And then we've talked about some like different comparisons with you and with Joe's office and other answering services. Can you kind of highlight or maybe summarize, some of the ones that you really see are, the big differentiators between you and others and competitors?
One of the things that we have always focused on that made us different from the beginning was us being willing to go into some of these scheduling platforms and schedule. It is something that we do and we love to do for our clients, but like I said before, it has its limitations because we can't control what's in development for these different platforms. And they obviously won't develop things and program things specifically for Jill's office to make our jobs easier. So we just have to make sure that we're working within guidelines. But scheduling has been something that has made us different for a very long time, but also making sure that our employees are trained to ask for it, to offer to book a job. If somebody calls in and isn't necessarily, maybe they're asking about pricing. We want our Jills to understand the importance of actually asking for the booking on that call if it's something that our clients want and allows us to do. The other thing that's always made us different is that we really do highlight our people. You don't see very many call centers focusing on their people and their culture, but also showcasing the customer service side of things, which we do a lot on our social media, and we do a lot of engagement things and culture things internally to make sure that our employees are always feeling appreciated. And we like to show that outwardly to our clients and in our marketing as well. And you don't really see a lot of call centers doing that a lot, but it's what makes us very unique. Our employees chat all day on Slack about our clients and how much they like them or their calls. And when they have really good calls, we encourage them to share details about like what happened on the call. We have a gratitude call room where they can just post things where callers were grateful. So because it is hard once they get remote, or just when even if you're in office, everyone's sitting at their cubicles taking calls. You can't necessarily have a great call and turn around and just yell it to the whole company. So we make sure to give them tools to share those things because it is important for them, and everybody that's working just for 8 hours a day, like you want to share the wins. And it does really make us different because we really are highly focused on our people.
Gotcha. Was there a separate Slack channel or whatever you use for all the people that were a huge pain and that you guys vent about?
No, that's too negative. We can't dwell on those things. If we did, oh my gosh, you already know how many we get sales calls, we get angry callers, and then we get like prank callers. Those can be rough because sometimes they're not upfront about it. And so our Jills are trained, make sure it's not actually a client before, you say that this is not a real call. And so sometimes those can be a struggle, but so they're a small percentage, but they're not the majority.
Oh, you mean like your actual client will call just to see how it sounds or something,
Our clients do that too. They do test calls, but I'm talking about just prank calls in general.
Okay.
Because we handle such a high call volume, we get those sometimes, but
Yeah. Okay. And you mentioned like pricing. Are you sometimes giving actual prices for projects too, if you are asked to?
yes. Sometimes we give ranges. Our clients determine that. They put it in their instructions. So they will give ranges. Some clients will be very detailed what we charge, per pane for windows and things like that. I can't speak to every single guideline because I don't do the setup for accounts. I haven't done that in a really long time, but clients can give us actual pricing. I believe in some of our scheduling platforms will actually give the actual price.
Gotcha. Okay. And then you mentioned like working with, I think their systems. Did you mean like CRMs? Like you work with, like you log into CRMs and book appointments?
Yeah, right now we are logging into Jobber, House Call Pro, and Responsibid. And then there are a huge variety of other platforms that we do scheduling through using their online booking link that we can't log into for various reasons, whether it be our client base isn't big enough to train a whole pod of Jills how to use it, or the whole company how to use that platform, or there are little things within the system that doesn't allow us to book accurately. One system we were in once always defaulted to changing the time zone to us here in Utah, so it would mess up the appointments, and it's something we could fix.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then if somebody listening, was interested in working with Jill's office, like what would be the process to get started and kind of the onboarding and all of that?
Yeah, so the best thing to do is go to our website, to jillsoffice.com, and sign up for one of our demos. You can listen to some real calls that we have of our Jills answering real phone calls, and then we just, we blur out personal information so that we don't share that. But listening to the demos gives you a good idea of what we could actually do for your company and what it might sound like. It will lead you to schedule a discovery call with one of our salespeople so that you can actually talk about your company. We can learn about your company and what specifically you need and how we can best fit with you. And then once you sign up, you do get call instructions to fill out. And then you go through an onboarding process to review the call instructions and make sure we really understand what you need.
Okay. And what is the typical timeline right now, from start to actually using you and having Jill's answer the call?
Yeah, I would say it's just a couple days. It really depends on the client. Sometimes it's hard to get them to fill out the call instructions and get back to us because they're busy.
Yeah.
But we really try to be proactive and keep reaching out like, hey, we're ready for you. Like, send us your instructions and let's schedule this onboarding.
Okay. And are there any, you talked about the AI features, are there any other new developments you would like to share? I guess things that are kind of in the works for you guys?
I think just more advanced features with text backs is really exciting. Texting for my cleaning company is probably 95% of the time we're booking jobs through text because people are at work and it's easier for them to have a conversation that way. And so advancement just with our texting, and then also with the AI technology and what it can do, combined with how it can then forward to a Jill if the caller wants to speak to a human.
Gotcha. Okay. And somebody that's listening, they want to work with you or they're thinking about it. I mean, anything you could say to them, why it's worth signing up with Jill's office, the benefits
Oh
they
man,
give,
yeah.
maybe your best
Stop
sales pitch.
answering your own phones. Stop missing calls, and do not think you have to do everything in your business.
That's good. Short and sweet. I like that. All right. Well, anything else you'd like to add, as we get towards the end of this, anything you'd like to share with any of the contractors listening or anybody listening in general?
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're interested in Jill's office and not worrying about your phones anymore, I mean, give us a call, go on our website and just get some information. It's there's no obligation to get more information and just have a conversation. And we really appreciate you having us on the podcast. It's always great to talk about helping businesses to grow. And yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, I agree. And I think everyone listening definitely got a lot out of it and a lot of good knowledge that they can, hopefully set them up for a little bit better future, because if you are answering your calls, I'm sure everything we've said is already like preaching to the choir. Like everyone knows that answering the phones can be tough, especially as you're getting started if you have a lot of calls. So
Right.
definitely consider the answering service route. Definitely at the very least, just try to just phase yourself out of that completely, because it's definitely costing you money, costing you jobs, and probably costing you reputation as well. So,
Yes.
um, but thanks Nicole for coming on the podcast and sharing all this. I do appreciate it. And kind of going forward with the Fence and Deck Mastery podcast. So we're going to be continuing to do these weekly podcasts. I'm trying to bring on really anybody that I guess I would think would be helpful to fencing and decking. And I think with Nicole, that's exactly what it was, because answering the leads, following up with them is a very, very important part, as we all know. But if you did enjoy it, please review and subscribe to the podcast so we can climb up the rankings more. And if you do need help with your marketing, anything related to your website, lead generation, anything like that, feel free to reach out to us through our website. And we're also on all social media. We post daily. We'll have some clips of this podcast coming up on our Instagram and Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. So, and last thing, the webinars, we will have one coming up here soon. We're going to continue to do those every month. And if you want to know kind of how to better your marketing, get more leads, there's a lot of stuff where we go into a ton of detail to show you exactly what we do. We don't really hold anything back. But that's really it for today. Thanks, Nicole. I really do appreciate you coming on the podcast, and sure we'll be talking soon.
Thanks, Alex.
All right, take care.